Hi, it's Katrina. From runaway cats that ended in tragedy to the talented Hairy Houdini, here are 11 times animals escaped from the zoo. Number 11. Lion Escapes Exhibit. At the very end of 2018, a lion somehow escaped a locked enclosure at the Conservators Center in Burlington, North Carolina, and fatally mauled a 22-year-old intern named Alexandra Black. A fellow employee frantically dialed 911 and told the dispatcher that they had witnessed a lion attack and that the victim was badly injured. In the caller's words, incapacitated. The 14-year-old male lion named Macaques killed Black, who had only been working at the zoo for 10 days when the tragedy occurred. She was helping another staff member clean his enclosure when Macaques escaped the locked area and attacked her. Numerous attempts to tranquilize the big cat failed, prompting Caswell County Sheriff's deputies to shoot and kill the lion. It took several shots to bring him down, Sergeant Michael Griggs told Today, adding that he was amped up. Macaques was one of 14 lions and tigers who came to live at the sanctuary after being rescued from dismal living conditions in Ohio in 2004. In a statement following the incident, the Conservators Center reassured the public that it follows strict safety protocols when cleaning animal enclosures and that it was investigating how Macaques got loose. It was a first-time occurrence at the facility, according to Director Mindy Stinner. Meanwhile, animal rights nonprofit People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or PETA, chided the establishment, calling it a roadside zoo, and pleaded with North Carolina lawmakers to ban exotic animals from non-accredited facilities. Alexandra's family is still concerned about the sanctuary's safety protocols and are worried that the animal could have attacked guests at the park. Alexandra distracted the lion with some deer meat and it went after her, pouncing and grabbing her by the neck. Her family says that this is a call to action for the state to tighten the laws regarding ownership of non-native big cats. What do you think should be done in this situation? Let me know in the comments below. Number 10. Cora the Red Panda. Red pandas are adorable and highly endangered. A 2-year-old red panda named Cora gave the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium in Ohio a slight scare earlier this year when she stealthily snuck out of her habitat to explore the outside world. She's not dangerous to humans, but humans are probably dangerous for her. At just 19 pounds, roughly the size of a raccoon, she could easily get into trouble, and finding her was a priority for the zoo. She escaped from the facility's Asia Quest exhibit after being last spotted on the evening of July 21st. The next morning, staff members realized that the nocturnal resident was missing. They embarked on an extensive but unsuccessful search of the property before concluding that Cora had left the premises. But the red panda wasn't gone for long. Within 2 days of vanishing, Cora was back in her enclosure where she reunited with her 2 cubs, thanks to vigilant zoo visitors who spotted her between a rhinoceros habitat and a building that houses elephants. Getting the SKP back into her cage was no easy task for zoo employees who failed to lure her out of a tree with treats. They even brought Cora's cubs within view, only for her to remain stubbornly perched in the tree. At a lack for other options, staff members ultimately chose to tranquilize Cora. Once she fell asleep, they took her in for a medical exam with plans to reunite her with her cubs once she received a clean bill of health. Number 9. Blackbird named Bluebird. Second to its world-famous chicken wings, the city of Buffalo, New York is arguably best known for its harsh winter weather, which often comes with heavy lake-effect snow. But this didn't stop an intelligent yet elusive female tropical crested Oropendola blackbird named Bluebird from fleeing the Buffalo Zoo's Rainforest Falls exhibit in July, seemingly unaware of the below-freezing fall and winter that lie ahead. Zoo officials were surprisingly unalarmed, stating that they believed that Bluebird would remain in the area. As it turns out, they knew what they were talking about. Bluebird stayed close to the zoo and was found less than a day later in a nearby resident's yard. The homeowner alerted authorities, who summoned a team of animal care specialists, and with their help, Bluebird returned to her natural habitat. She had been spotted several times before finally being captured, and zoo staff had the public to thank for her swift recovery. Bluebird species is native to lowland South America and the Caribbean, including parts of Panama, Argentina, Colombia, and Trinidad and Tobago, regions much warmer than Buffalo on any given day, especially during the frigid winter months. While her disappearance and recapture seem rather uneventful, things would have likely turned out much more tragically for the bird if she had remained missing for long. Number 8. Cryptic cobra. New Yorkers spent 6 days on edge after a venomous Egyptian cobra escaped from the Bronx Zoo in 2011. The female snake immediately made headlines after vanishing from its enclosure, becoming the Big Apple's newest celebrity overnight. In the short time the cobra was missing, she even gained a sizable following, with some internet users creating social media accounts for the rogue reptile. Things turned out far less dramatic than they seemed, thankfully, when the snake was found just a few hundred feet away from its habitat. In the words of the Bronx Zoo director Jim Braheny, the creature was coiled, sort of secluded in a dark corner. He further stated that the cobra was alive and well following her recovery, and that zoo employees found her by luring her out of hiding with wood shavings from mice and rat bedding. In a press conference addressing the ordeal, Braheny explained that cobras are not as scary as they seem, stating snakes in general are shy, secretive creatures, and adding that most would flee from a human rather than fight one. Number 7. Hairy Escape Artist. An orangutan named Ken Allen became legendary over 3 decades ago, starting when he first scaled the wall of his exhibit at the San Diego Zoo and escaped in 1985. The 250-pound primate calmly walked out of his exhibit and walked down a path, stopping to observe zoo guests and other animals like just another visitor, until he was led back to his cage. In contrast to other escapees who did not end up well, he was hailed as a folk hero and even inspired a song. Ken Allen's first departure from his enclosure was short-lived, and once he was returned to his cage, zoo officials enhanced its security features to prevent history from repeating itself. But Ken was determined to defeat his life of confinement, and he escaped again just weeks later. Zoo staff found him near another primate exhibit, throwing rocks at another orangutan he didn't get along with, and once again returned Ken to his enclosure. He had to cross a large moat and climb a 4-foot wall to get out, but it wasn't enough to stop him. The orangutan continued finding ways to leave his cage, earning him the reputation of an escape artist. A zoo worker who clearly did not get the memo accidentally forgot a crowbar while doing some repairs. Ken threw it to another orangutan named Vicky, who pried open a window and let Ken out. Ken was eventually placed in solitary confinement while the zoo tried to increase the security of his exhibit. A closer look at his history from security cameras revealed a lifetime of this crafty primate escaping. In fact, during his younger years, Ken apparently had a knack for unscrewing his cage bolts at night, exploring his surroundings, and screwing the bolts back in before staff arrived the next day. He knew exactly what he was doing. The facility also finally escape-proofed Ken's cage by installing electric wire and hiring rock climbers to search for potential escape routes that staff may have missed. Ken continued trying to escape, but it seems like it was finally too tough for him to crack. 2 years later, he managed to find a way out of his enclosure yet again. That was the last straw for the zoo, which ultimately spent around $45,000 on the security measures necessary to keep Ken contained for good. His quest to get out earned him the name of Hairy Houdini. Number 6. Wandering Wallaby. A 10-year-old, 3-foot-tall, 50-pound wallaby named Surprise gave staff members an unexpected surprise, pun intended, when he escaped the Zoology Foundation sanctuary in Larkspur, Colorado in June. He vanished for 2 weeks before being sighted in Aurora, roughly 40 miles from where he disappeared. While that may seem like a great distance for an animal to travel on foot, wallabies can reach a cruising speed of 30 miles per hour, according to Zoology Foundation Program Director Maggie Lancey, meaning that it's entirely possible that Surprise covered that much ground. Employees of the organization rushed to the area in an attempt to recapture the wallaby, but they were unsuccessful. While it sounds easy, in theory, to spot something as random as a non-native, completely out-of-place marsupial, wallabies are generally active early in the morning and late at night, and they sleep all day, unlike most humans. Based on timing alone, therefore, it's difficult to catch one. The Zoology Foundation strongly urged residents not to approach or try to handle Surprise, or any wallaby for that matter, if they happen to encounter him in public. Instead, the organization encouraged people to take a photo and call them from a safe distance, and to contact its Facebook page and inform staff of the sighting. There appears to be no news of Surprise being recovered, suggesting that the runaway wallaby is still at large. What would you do if you saw a wild animal wandering the streets? Would you rather run into a wallaby or a monkey? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you are new here. Number 5. Lions in the streets. A lion in Nairobi escaped from a park and tragically mauled a man to death. Located just 4 miles from the city, the park is home to a variety of animals, including large predators such as lions, leopards, and hyenas. The man was walking home after meeting with friends, but when he didn't come to work the next day, his friends and family knew something was wrong. The park uses electric fencing to keep the animals inside, but it is not completely sealed. In 2016, several lions escaped and ventured into local towns, terrorizing the neighborhoods and wandering in the streets. The Kenya Wildlife Service is trying to work with the community as the lions lose their habitat and are forced to wander elsewhere, putting everyone, including themselves, at risk. Speaking of lions wandering through the streets, a giant lion was seen prowling around a residential neighborhood in Johannesburg, South Africa. Residents panicked, but it turns out the lion was called Columbus and had been brought in by a production crew for filming. He was borrowed from a nearby lion park, but it turns out the local film company did not notify authorities that they were going to do this. They say the situation was under control, but pedestrians got quite the fright. Number 4. Macaques on the Loose. A 16-year-old boy found himself in hot water with Japanese authorities earlier this year when he allegedly released 70 macaque monkeys from their enclosure at Takagoyama Shizen Zoo in Futsu City. The high schooler committed the deed by using a sharp tool to cut a 12-inch hole in the habitat's wire mesh fencing, giving dozens of primates the opportunity to escape. Surveillance cameras captured footage of the teen's friend's car, indicating that the culprit received a ride to the zoo. Because he had a chauffeur, police opened an investigation into the young man's friends as possible accomplices. Recovering the macaques was far from easy. Zoo employees attempted to lure them back to their habitat by leaving food inside with the doors open. And it worked. The primates, who had fled to nearby mountains, eventually found their way back and approached staff members and their cage. This wasn't the first time the primates escaped, but it was the first time they received deliberate help. In September 2019, a powerful typhoon collapsed the enclosure's fences and released the macaques. Number 3. Runaway Leopard. Taipei Zoo officials recently disclosed that an endangered leopard escaped her enclosure after a local resident complained to a city councilor, pointing out that the incident was largely kept from the public. In response, spokesperson Eric Tsao revealed that the 3-year-old feline named Fei had indeed escaped from the zoo. Soon enough, the zoo released a statement explaining that Fei vanished several days earlier when she clawed an opening in a net at the top of her cage and quietly slipped away. By the time zookeepers checked on her exhibit at 9:00 a.m., Fei was long gone. Employees immediately began searching the park for the missing leopard, who had only recently arrived at the facility after having one of her hind legs amputated. Tsao said the zoo was confident that it could retrieve Fei, but the statement was met with doubt, especially since her escape came just weeks after an anteater and its pup ran away from the zoo, with only the parent being recovered. Taipei City Councilor Chang Shi-gang, who originally received the complaint about Fei's escape, mentioned that the recent successive cases of animals breaking out from the zoo pointed toward the facility's need to revisit and improve its containment protocols. While it's true that leopards generally avoid crossing paths with humans, these naturally reclusive creatures are also capable of inflicting severe damage on a person if they're caught off guard or in the wrong mood. At last update, Fei was still at large, and members of the public are advised to keep a safe distance and notify zoo personnel immediately if they see her. Number 2. Baboon Breakout. Earlier this year in Sydney, Australia, a pair of baboons escaped while being transported to a research facility and took to the city streets, causing widespread upheaval. Amusing yet alarming footage of the free-roaming duo quickly surfaced on social media and went viral, only adding to any existing panic. Officers were dispatched to the area and safely recaptured the primates. Earlier this afternoon, a troop of baboons escaped from a facility and were going bananas in Camperdown, the good-natured police tweeted. Police and wildlife handlers now have the situation under control, so please let them do their job and don't be tempted to pry, mates. A spokesperson later reassured the public that the baboons had indeed been retrieved and that they posed no threat to the public. While the ordeal seems fairly inconsequential, it is perhaps alarming to learn that this wasn't the first known instance of primates fleeing their confines. 2 years ago in San Antonio, Texas, 4 baboons fled a biomedical research lab by climbing out of their enclosure with the help of a 55-gallon barrel. They were soon captured, but this and the incident in Sydney represent just 2 examples of an occurrence that seems to happen far too often. You do not want to get bitten randomly by some infected experimental monkey, but hey, I guess you can just expect anything to happen after 2020. Number 1. Chimpanzees escape. Just warning you that this does not end well. Two chimpanzees named Mike and Caribuna escaped from their enclosure at the Dierenpark Amersfoort in the Netherlands. It looks like a zookeeper didn't close the enclosure properly, so the two stealthily snuck out into the night. Caribuna was the leader and alpha male, and Mike was the oldest chimp and had lived in the park for over 50 years. The pair didn't get very far after escaping before they came face to face with staff members who resorted to deadly force for what they felt were justified reasons. Zoo officials allege that employees had no other choice but to kill the primates. They had been part of the zoo's chimpanzee group for a long time, but were found demonstrating dominant and aggressive behavior in the visitor area. Following the tragedy, the zoo released an apologetic statement which read, "The situation was under control quickly and no visitors or employees were injured. To prevent further escalation, these two male chimps were shot dead. We deeply regret this event. This is a black day for the zoo and we deeply regret the situation," the zoo said. Victim support services were offered to zoo staff and visitors. While the facility claimed to act in favor of human safety and said that the employees who shot the chimps feared that they were dangerous, the decision to kill Mike and Caribuna nonetheless seemed very drastic and has led to much controversy. It's a very hard choice, but do you think that the zoo did the right thing? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching! What do you think of these animal escapes? Which ones do you think were the scariest? Let me know in the comments below and be sure to subscribe if you are new here. See you in the next video.